Welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. Before we begin, we got to shout out our sponsor, Polly's Private Special Investigation Services. You want the dirt on someone, or you need to get to the truth, or if you have any other security concerns and issues, check out our bevy of special services and hit us up on the web at www.wemindyourbusiness or call us at 1-888-BUSINESS. Polly's Private Special Investigative Services. Tammy, you gonna check out Polly's?
It's like I thought you were gonna say we mind your business so you don't have to.
I think I might have messed up their slogan. Uh-oh. But the check cleared.
It's cool as long as the check cleared.
Thank you for adding that part in there for us. See, you do pay attention to the sponsors.
I do. I just don't always technically need them as much in my life, but I understand.
From what you told me about what's going on at the day job, you might need them. Handle some business for you.
I'm gonna need a reacher in my life.
Speaking of which, great segue. This week is all about Amazon's new hit series Reacher, which is adapted from Lee Child's hit novel series, starring Alan Richardson as the title character, a vagabond, former MP roaming the country, working odd jobs and often finding himself in highly suspicious and extremely dangerous situations. For example, the first season is based on the first novel, The Killing Field, in which we find our hero, excuse me, I'm having such a hard time today, arrested for murder as soon as he steps off of a Greyhound bus in the fictional town of Margrave, Georgia. And it's all downhill from there. So Tammy, was Reacher far out or out of reach?
Wait, which one's the positive one?
Far out.
Oh, like the 60 statement.
Yeah, far out, dude.
Okay, that's a throwback. No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great first season that it had. I actually read the book. So the funny thing is, when the movie came out with starring Tom Cruise, before I went to go see the movie, I read the book. Like, I actually downloaded the book and I read the book, and I really liked the book. Like, I finished it pretty quick, and then I went to see the movie. So I love the fact, because the movie was nothing like the first book. But I love the fact that the first season of the TV series on Prime was based completely on the first book. Like, the characters, the storyline, the plot, like everything was based on the first book. So I really enjoyed it, because I was just like, it was nice to see it go from the book pages to the screen.
Yeah, I've never read the books, and I think I guess I never realized how popular the series was. The first I had heard of Jack Reacher was the movies with Tom Cruise, and I must admit I was not a big fan. I think I ended up watching them just because they were on HBO or something one time, and I was bored. But and I was like, oh, okay, for this to have been on HBO or something like that, it wasn't bad, but I wasn't overly impressed. And then but I was excited about the series as long as it wasn't starring Tom Cruise. And since he doesn't do TV, I was like, okay. So I got more and more excited about it, especially when I heard they were casting Alan Richardson. And, people were, I was a little disappointed because he was leaving Titans to do this, but I also was glad he was getting his own show. But I didn't realize just why there was so much vitriol against Tom Cruise being cast as Jack Reacher when they were completely physical opposites. So I was like, oh, okay. And then when you have the author coming out throwing shade too, talking about this casting was so much better, and he thanks them for actually casting his character correctly, I was like, oh shit, shots fired.
I love that. I didn't even know about that one. But yeah, that sounds about right. Based on what I read in the book and what I remember, because the storyline came back to me as I was watching the series. What is it, like 8 episodes, I think?
Mm-hmm.
So as I was watching the 8 episodes, the the plot that I read in the first book started to come back to me. And I realized, well, I didn't think Tom Cruise was the best pick for the image of Jack Reacher anyway. They just chose him because he's a big action star. And I think he produced the movies as well. He was a producer on the movies. But yes, I would agree with the author of the book series that he was a better pick for what Reacher was supposed to look like and his whole persona and the vibe that he gave off for everybody who met him.
Yeah. And and as I was reading about the movies, because I was like, I understand, because it's Tom Cruise, and so like you said, he's the big action star, but he never kind of struck me as Reacher. It just seemed like he was playing that typical Mission Impossible role, like Ethan Hunt, a different version of Ethan Hunt, and
Yeah,
it was
that's all
kind of
he
played
knows
out.
now. That's all he knows.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, you could have stuck this with he could have stayed with Mission Impossible. He didn't have to bring this to Jack Reacher. So I wasn't overly impressed. So I didn't really go out of my way to try to find out more. But so I say that to say I probably wouldn't read the first book because they said that it pretty much told the story. So I might want to do the second book because spoiler alert, it's already been renewed very quickly for a second season, which we'll get into later. But I did enjoy the series more than I thought I would, especially for me to have had such a negative reaction to the first movie, to the movies. And I guess it had to do with and also when I was reading about some of the reviews for the series, they weren't as positive, and I see where some of those come from, but overall, I did enjoy it much, much more than I thought. And Alan Richardson is just like a physical specimen who is fine as fuck. If I do say so myself, I'm just gonna put it out there, homeboy, fine. So I put it out there. I said it. He's fine. But so one of the things I did not like though, I thought it was a bit formulaic. There I go using that word again, and a little cliche. And I thought I'm taking a page from your book. I thought the first few episodes, especially what I would call the pilot episode, the writing was horrible. But it did get better as as the series went on, and as the pieces start to come together, and we start to find out more about the story, and we got into the meat of the story. It was really good. It got better, but in the beginning, it wasn't too great. And then those accents, oh my God, I don't know if they got better, if they just lightened up a little bit, or if you just got used to them, but those accents were fucking cringy. Like, they were horrible.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I guess we're switching sides today.
I'm playing in the role of Tammy is being played by Eddie.
Because okay, granted, they're from a 2-bit town in Georgia. But I liked it from the beginning. Like, I went into this thinking I wouldn't like it actually. Like, I was kind of like, I'm gonna watch it because, I realized it was after the first book. And I did enjoy the movies. I did enjoy the movies. They weren't greatest. They ain't Oscar worthy at all. They ain't even Golden Globe worthy. But but
Headshot.
what?
I said headshot.
But they did entertain me. I was entertained. Because one reason is because he plays the same character nowadays because that's the moneymaker for him. And I enjoy the Ethan Hunt series, Mission Impossible.
Well, he got support Scientology. My bad.
Heck yeah, he the only one. Because everybody else is leaving in droves. But I will say that I enjoyed it from beginning. I didn't think the script was bad. Now, granted, it wasn't like the greatest TV series ever. But I suggested it to everybody. I was like, yo, like, you gotta watch this. I said, yeah, it's gonna be slow in some parts, but overall, like, I think maybe I just ignored the mistakes in the beginning because overall, by the end, I loved the whole entire thing. I enjoyed it. And I can say I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I'm very, very excited about season 2, that it was renewed so quickly. And I am also going to read the second book because I think that's how they're going to follow for the series. So, but yeah, I the accents. Now, granted, maybe I just have a northern mentality, but I ain't seen nothing wrong with them.
Oh, so you trying to say all Southerners sound the same?
No, not sound the same, but there are definitely Southerners that sound cringe-worthy like that.
Yeah, there are, and I, as a Southern implant, I will say that I might as well say I'm a Southerner. I've lived here most of my life, and to people in the South, they can tell that I'm not from here. Most people in the South, they wouldn't think that I grew up down here.
And you got a
But
northern mentality. You just happen to live here.
yeah, but when I go back home or I go out west or out east, people say that they can hear the southern accent, like the draw, a little bit of the
Yeah.
southern twang, and I'm like, oh, okay. But so it, like I said, I don't know if they grew on me, if I just got used to them, if they lightened them up a little bit, if they got used to speaking with the twang or the southern affectation or whatever it is. But they seem to get everything just seemed to get better as the series grew. And I'm with you. I thought it was just going to be something that I watched just because to say I watched it to give it to give it a chance to see if it was better than the movies. Plus, I do like Alan Richardson, and so I just wanted to see what it was. Overall, now the story was interesting from the beginning. Granted, I did enjoy that. Um, but by the end, I'm with you. I was able to forgive some of the earlier mistakes, and I found myself as a whole really enjoying the series. And that was one of my hopes, was that it would get renewed, because I just thought it got better, just like any first year TV show. A good one, usually they learn from their mistakes, and even though this was released all at once, you could see just the improvements, or at least I saw the improvements as they kept going. um, and one of the things I really liked that kind of has started that's kind of getting played out a little bit, but they used them really, really well, were the flashbacks. I thought they did a great job with the flashbacks, and they filled in a lot of the blanks and the gaps, especially considering that he finds out that the person whose murder he was arrested for happened to be his own brother who he had been estranged from. So I was like, oh, and then that made this case even more personal, because at first he was just pissed that he got arrested for something he didn't do. But then when he found out his brother was killed in his little podunk town that he actually went to because his brother had recommended it, because one of his favorite blues singers had supposedly died there, I was just like, oh wow. So that was really interesting. And I think that's when it became more interesting for me too, as a whole. Like, what is the connection to this case? Because I knew his brother, because the way they kept mentioning his brother, I knew his brother was going to be somehow involved. I thought maybe ultimately his brother might have switched sides, because I didn't know much about Jack Reacher. Like I said, his brother may have switched sides and ended up being the big bad, or he was going to end up having to call his brother in to get him out of trouble or something. But I had no idea that his brother was going to be um, the extreme personal connection, his the reason for vengeance in this case. So I really liked how they connected those dots, and you still kind of got the sense that even though they were estranged, they were close, in the sense that he still loved and respected his brother. So that was interesting. I mean, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. I agree. I thought the background of just explaining his personality, and that he'd always been like this upright person from very, very young, protecting people who couldn't necessarily protect themselves. He always stood up for what was right, even if it got him in trouble. And his brother was the exact same way, very, very protective of him. So I did like the flashbacks as well. And then really showed who he was in today, like today, within the series as an adult man, and just going through what he went through. So, yeah, no, it definitely, like, I just think, like, overall at the end, and I'll say it again, it all comes together. So even if there's certain things that threw you off in the beginning or throughout the series, by the end you're just like, oh, that was really good. Like
Yeah,
that's ultimately the thought process that you're gonna have, is that was really good, unless you like absolutely just hate like action or like intrigue. series, which you wouldn't watch it anyway. But if you were to watch it and at any point you're like, I'm just gonna put a pause on this. Don't put a pause. Believe me, it gets better as it goes along. And by the end, you'll be like, oh, that was really good. Once again, I'm gonna continue to repeat that because that was my thought process. Like, it's very rare that you can get watch TV series like that.
Yeah. And that's what I told one of my friends. They were, they were talking about, and they're like, I just couldn't get into it. I said, yeah, I said, the first episode is a little hard. I was like, and, I went through my whole pilot spill again. And I was like, but it does get better. I said, it does get better. You are able to overlook some of those things. And I was like, the writing, everything just seems to improve as the series continues. I was like, he's not as monosyllabic. He actually speaks in complete sentences and he has a lot to say, but he's just a man who doesn't waste his words on bullshit. Like, he's just going to be very upfront, but he doesn't just sit there saying no the whole movie or look at you and grunt the whole movie. But one of my favorite scenes was him and the detective. Oh God, I can't remember the detective's name right now. Finley, yes. But when him and Finley went to go see that dude, the dude who ran the town, and he thought he was going to have to do all the talking or he was going to have to make the threats, and Finley just went off. Like, when Finley told him, "You not my daddy, my daddy's name was this," and he just sat there and was like, "Oh, he got this, let me." And he was just, and because you could tell he thought he was going to have to say some shit, right? But then when he realized he wasn't going to have to say nothing, he just sat there and he had that smile on his face like, "Oh yeah."
He went, yeah, that was a great scene. That was a great scene. Because you were like, okay, where are you going with this? When he was like saying what his daddy name was. And I was just like, wait, where are you going with this? Like, who cares what your daddy name is? He ain't in this show. But then at the end, it came together and you were just like, oh, okay, all right. Okay. Get it.
And then when he was ribbing Finley, "You ain't my daddy." My daddy. And that was one of the things I did appreciate. The character development throughout the series was really, really good. Because you didn't think you were gonna like Finley. You thought he was gonna be the hard ass and just, but you come to understand where he's coming from, and you see the growth of their friendship, and it's not forced. They actually come to have a true, genuine respect for each other. And I love that. And even his relationship. See, today is not a great day. I'm blanking on everybody's name. What was the girl's name? Which is
Conklin.
normal.
Conklin.
Huh?
Conklin?
Yeah, Haku. Yeah.
Roscoe. Call her Roscoe.
Roscoe. Yeah. Which is normal for me, not remembering names. But so I even appreciated that. And you knew the romance was coming, but I loved the romance, and I loved how she wasn't a damsel in distress, and how, she was just like, "I am who I am, and I don't need you to rescue me." And he was just protective because that's just who he was. But, it wasn't because he felt like she just needed it. It was just because he said he protects the people he cares about.
Yeah, I like that the love story took the back seat.
Yeah.
Like, you knew it was coming at some point because they were working up, but it was so natural in how they worked up to that, that it was never, ever once was it the focus. Even when they showcased it, it was still not the focus. So I really, really love that it was never the focus, that you focused on her capability as a cop, like who she was as a person. It was never an extension of who he was and his character on how we got to know her. Like, no, you got to know her separate. And I love that. Like, everybody was their own character, their own person.
Yeah. And I love the part when after they slept together, she's like, "This changes nothing. Like, we have this, but don't try treating me like I'm some helpless damsel. Like, I just need you. Like, you have to come to my rescue every single time." But like, because when he saw that dude when he saw a horse spray painted on her truck, he handled that. When he drove into town to get Junior, he handled that a hell of a lot better than I thought he would, because I thought he was just gonna beat the shit out of Junior.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. I thought it was just gonna be fist to face, but I'm like, oh, okay. Like, he handled that superbly. So like I said, it was,
that's the second SAT word.
it was really good. And the only thing I was thinking, and they did a good job. I also like with the character development, they did a good job of keeping you on your toes. Like you thought you had it figured out, and you may have been right. Like the FBI dude, I kind of at one point I thought, okay, he's not as clean cut as he seems, especially once they found them at the cabin. But then
Mhm.
I was like, maybe they just followed him in from town because when he left her alone, they had all the opportunity, but I guess he was trying to get information. So it's like the times you thought he may have been dirty, it would there would be something that happened that throws you off of that trail. And you're like, okay, he's not dirty, but what is his story? And the same thing with the cop who you thought was dirty, it actually turns out he wasn't. So I
Yeah, he was
love
a
that.
good guy. Oh, so sad.
Yeah, I love that sleight of hand. Like those two characters, you never quite had them figured out the way you thought you did. Because there were times when you thought the cop might have actually been clean, but then something he would say something or something would happen, you'd be like, no, he is dirty. So I loved how they kept you guessing about those two characters. And Junior, you knew
He was a shithead,
yeah,
psychopath too.
you knew Junior was crazy. You
Cray
knew
cray.
Junior was
He was cray
involved.
cray.
I did not
Yes,
expect Junior to be batshit fucking crazy, like
cray cray.
cartel level crazy. Like
Mhm. He killed his daddy
he killed his daddy. He butchered his daddy
and was proud of it.
and proud of it. Like I thought the cartel was doing the butchering in town. I thought they were coming in to get their money or whatever. You knew Pops and Junior were involved. You knew Junior sprayed horror on her car. You knew all of that. You knew Junior was a shithead. I thought he was just an overindulged little shithead who was run. I did not know he was fucking batshit. Like I was like, oh fuck,
Mm.
and proud of it. And then he said
Mm.
he wanted to send me somewhere, but that didn't. He's like he did when I was younger, but that didn't take. And Richard's like, no shit. Like obviously it didn't.
Cause you cray cray, yo, he was off the chain, and he got worse as the series went on. Like at first, I was
Worse.
just like you said, like I thought also that he was just a spoiled brat, and then you find out because it was like halfway through where I realized when at the very beginning when Reacher was explaining the three people that were involved in the murder of his brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and him saying that okay, you have a skilled shooter. You have someone that just kicked the person after they were dead, and then you had someone that felt some remorse enough that they covered up their body, really quick before they left. And I was just like, oh shoot! I was like, oh, that was Junior and his cousin, because they cray cray together. That's why they so close, because they both crazy. Because after what
But
they did to the was it the captain or the mayor? No, the
the
captain.
no,
After what
because
they
the
did to the
mayor's the
captain?
one who took over as the police
Yeah,
chief.
as captain. So what they did to the mayor, it's just you just gotta watch it. Like even as we're talking about it, watch the series because we cannot go into like the little details of everything that happened that worked towards the story in the end. Like, yeah, because it's just crazy the whole progression of how crazy Junior was. Like he was a psychopath and a sociopath at the same time, and those are the worst combination.
The worst combination. Like he and I love that it was it was a smooth unraveling. Like it was a seamless unraveling. Like as the story goes on, you realize that he and his dad are deeper into this. You know they're the big bads. You know the family is bad, but you would think that the dad was more involved than Junior. You would think that the dad was the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And then because he can't, because he's trying to be the voice of reason, Junior just goes ape shit. Like he takes all the chains off. Like he's like, I'm completely unchained. I'm free now. So it's just like wow. And then the way they were going about just every all the other agencies that got involved because of their scheme, like the EPA, they killed a town. I mean, it was very
Like yo. like it was so intricate in how everything fell into place, and you understood the connections between it. Things that you was just like, wait, how does that work? And then when they explained it, you were like, oh shoot, dang.
Yeah.
And you don't realize like how important, because I never would have thought of the EPA as a significant part of that whole story. But once it was explained, I was just like, that's true. Like, and then I started to think of like real world situations that we have every day in our country. And I'm just like, that is the reason why it's important, as people try to kill that agency, why we need the EPA to be there. Like, it started to bring up actual real things that have happened, and they've had to step in. I was just like, oh, because even though I know, like, I don't want them to cancel the EPA, I never fully understood. I think, like, that's one thing, like, I now understand why the EPA is needed. Like, I could explain to somebody, like, an actual scenario on why the EPA is important. Before, I'd just be like, no, like, I mean, we got to protect the environment. Like, that would be my statement. But now I can, like, give you an actual, like, I can think of the full example better than what the news has told me, because they, they don't know how to explain stuff either.
Yeah, what they say in Bad Boys, that shit be having a slant. But yeah, like, and you would never make the connection between the EPA, the Secret Service, the FBI, and a fucking counterfeiting case. Like how he made all those agencies fit together logically, and how this one case would involve all those agencies. It was brilliant. Like, and I know that, and I'm going to shout out Lee Child, who I, created the story, created the series. I believe serves as an executive producer on the series, but just for writing such an interesting story, creating the story to begin with. And like I said, it actually made me want to go back and read some of the other Jack Reacher series and novels. And so I do plan on doing that, especially. I think I do want to do the second one because Alan Richardson said that he wants to go in order. As they continue to tell the story, he would like to go in order. Although they said, because if it keeps getting renewed, some of the books are written, most of them are written as standalones. There's one that's written as a trilogy, but then some of them are written chronologically. Some of the stories that take place actually take place before the events in the Killing Field, which was the first season, even though they were written after that book. So they were saying, just if he continues to play the character, they might want to tell some of those earlier stories first. So we'll see. I don't know. But it was really, it really, really got good. One of my other favorite characters, I love the introduction of Neely. And usually when a character is introduced midway through a series, you think they're going to be a throwaway. You don't think they're going to be as important as she was to this series. But I loved her character. And I loved the relationship she had with Reacher. Like, she seemed to be the only person who could actually tell Reacher what to do. Like, who could get through to him, who wasn't in some way afraid of him. Like, it was just like, yeah, like, I love that. I loved their relationship, and I loved her character.
She was cool. But I like all, I have to say, every character played their role very well.
They did. And I even liked the lady. I'm not going to call her a victim because, as you see, she was definitely not a victim. She knew what her husband was into, even though it was a case of him just getting in way too deep, way over his head, and then trying to figure out a way to get out that whole time without his family dying at the hands of a cartel, or the crazy man he worked for. So I don't know how much I felt sorry for them, but I understood what they were going through. I had a better understanding of their situation and their predicament. And ultimately, he found a way to do the right thing, and he's the one who brought Reacher's brother in. So I did appreciate that. But I even loved how, it got to a point where she's like, fuck it, I'm not the victim. But when Roscoe tried to tell her, she's like, I've known where my husband's worked every day for the past 2 years. And then she just explains the full story. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was really good. You got anything else?
Go watch it. Currently streaming on Amazon Prime, but yeah, it was definitely enjoyable. Better than the movies. Better casting than the movies. Um, yeah, you will not be disappointed.
No, you won't. And you won't. I can't disagree with anything you say. With anything you said. Excuse me, tongue tied today. Um, and I want to shout out Amazon for actually taking the initiative and renewing it. They didn't make you wait months and months and months. Amazon could take a page from that book.
No, Netflix could take a page from that book.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Netflix. See, tongue tied today. um, Amazon, Netflix, could take a page from that book. Although, on a side note, I am getting my Will Assassins wrap up movie. It's
Y'all,
coming.
can I just say I feel some type of way, okay? Because I saw this on Netflix and I text Eddie and I said, "Hey, you're finally getting your Wu Assassin sequel," and she didn't even respond, y'all.
My
I didn't
bad.
even get an explanation point.
And the role of Tammy today is being played by Eddie. Because that is a.
It is crazy because I was just like, and the crazy thing is like I was looking like, so she ain't gonna respond. Like she been talking this for over a year, now more than a year, about how she want her Wu Assassins too, and I let her know, and she ain't gonna say nothing. Like I felt some type of way about that.
I pulled the Tammy, y'all, because that is a straight up Tammy move. That is something she would do.
It is. It don't feel good, y'all. It don't feel.
But in all honesty, I thought I responded. But I am really, really, really excited about my Will Assassins movie. I might have to do a little quick pop or something like that when I get my
February 17th, y'all.
When we get the website up and running again. All right. So season 2, real quick before we wrap this up. Anything I guess the second book we both said maybe. I'm just happy it got a season 2.
All new characters.
Whole new characters. Yeah, because he's a vagabond, or what he calls a hobo. I'm like, dude, you know how no one calls themselves a hobo anymore?
He does.
He does. So I'm just excited for season 2. I would like them to continue building up on the strengths that they had coming out of season 1. And I love that it's not set in the same place, in the same city, different characters, different stories. So I think, and it seems like because this is such a popular series, kind of like the Tom Clancy series, all his series of books and things like that, that they have a wealth of source material. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what they come up with next, and I can't wait. So hopefully, maybe 2023, probably 2023, we'll have a new series of Reacher. So what are you rating this?
I'm going to rate Reacher 3.5 popcorns, which is really, really good. I really enjoyed the series. It was great. Like I said, it's not like Emmy worthy. I binge watched it. I loved it. Gonna acknowledge there were some mistakes within it, but at the end it was worth it. So I'd recommend it to anybody who wants to watch it. Go and watch it. Currently streaming.
Yeah, I agree. I went a little bit lower than you. Some of the mistakes, especially in the beginning, I found a little bit harder to get over. But I gave it a 3.25, which is still really good. And I agree, it's not Emmy worthy. It does get better. It's one of those shows that you just go in and you watch. I'm not going to call it mindless entertainment fun, but it's one of those shows where you don't really, it keeps you intrigued, it keeps you involved. You're very invested in the show, but you don't have to think too hard, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, as I said, because I don't want to say it's mindless entertainment, because it's not. It's actually really good. But it's just one of those shows where you don't have to work too hard to enjoy it, and it's not just something where you have to keep digging for deeper meaning and stuff. It's going to get you to where it wants you to be. So I really appreciate that show, and I binged it too. So it's a really, really watchable show. Check it out, enjoy it. Again, it's on Amazon Prime, the Prime Video, Prime Network. I don't know what they call themselves this day. I just call it Amazon, who actually is going up on their Prime subscription. My bad. We can say that for another day. I'm all over the place today. Stop rolling your eyes at me through
Nah,
the computer.
I didn't even know that, so I'm just learning. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. All right. So that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Please be sure to listen, like, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and or Spotify Podcasts. Yes, we're still on Spotify. And you can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the coming soon new and improved popcornwinddown.com. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, 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 pop. I'm still doing my own sound effects. Hopefully, Tammy will get me some new sound effects soon. We'll see. We'll see. I might have to send Reacher out for a call Polly's Special Investigative Services to get my sound effects, but that's okay.
Good luck with that.
Thank you as always, and be sure to join us next week when we discuss And Just Like That. I'm excited about that one. I'm interested to see what you have to say. Have you watched it yet?
Not at all.
Oh wow.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about. We'll talk. I am interested to see what you have to say about it, how you feel about it. It's going to be interesting. Have we done a Sex and the City show, or we just talked about them?
No, we only talked about when they were renewed for like a reunion.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay. So this should be interesting. Until then, I'm Eddie,
and I'm Tammy. Bye.
peace.